Is Plex the last streaming app you're ever going to need? I mean, it's pretty great. I've skimmed over Plex in the past when I've featured it in some of my top 10 lists, which you should check out. But today we're going to do a deep dive into this one app, Plex. Now, I've had a lot of requests to cover Plex in the comments over the last few weeks. I do read those, by the way. And now, you know what? I think this is a good time since nothing else is happening in the streaming world right now. Right. Okay, but that's a topic better kept to my Friday live streams where, by the way, you can come and hang out. You get the news of the day. We play some fun games, do Q&As, and have a weekly giveaway as well. So make sure you are subscribed and tune in every Friday afternoon for those live streams. But for now, Plex, let's dive in. All right, first question to answer here, what is Plex? If you are brand new to this thing, let me kind of explain what it is. The best thing I can think of is if you were to combine Tubi and Pluto TV and your own library of content, you would have Plex. So wait, what does that mean? Well, okay, Tubi and Pluto, if you're unfamiliar with those are kind of free versions of things that you may have or have had in the past. So Tubi is kind of a free, commercial-supported version of Netflix. Pluto TV is kind of a cable or satellite imitator with live TV. Again, it's free, but it's commercial supported, etc., etc. Anyway, you kind of smush those things together so you get one part live TV, one part on-demand movies and shows, and one part your own stuff. And on top of that, it's all free. Are you kidding me? I mean, you can decide to go premium, but still, all that stuff for free. Pretty nice. So how do you use Plex? Well, let's go ahead and take a tour of the interface. All right, so buckle in. We're gonna spend a few minutes here in Plex, and I'm gonna show you around exactly what it is. You start here on the home screen. Now, we're gonna come back to the home screen because I really quite like it, but I will just say, all right, this is where you're gonna spend most of your time once you get it set up. The next tab is Movies, and this is your movies. All right, so right here, we should stop and talk about how you add your stuff to Plex. So let's have a little tutorial. How do you add your own movies, your own music and photos to Plex? Well, essentially what you need is you need some movies, some shows, some music on a drive connected to your PC, probably. Once you've got that drive set up, you simply add stuff to it. So I told Plex when I want to add some movies, I want you to look in this specific folder, and then I started adding things to it. I've only added a few things for now, but I went and grabbed a Blu-ray off my shelf, ripped that Blu-ray onto my hard drive on my computer and put it in that folder, and grabbed a couple of other things, some old videos that I made for this channel, an interview that I did with Jim Butcher some time ago for a different channel, and put them all in the folder. Then when I have it scan that folder, it pulls all of that stuff into my library. Then when I go into my Plex app on my Roku or my Fire TV or my Android phone or whatever, I'm gonna be able to pull those assets and watch them on demand, just like I would on any other streaming service. So this is a great way if you have your own library of stuff to kind of get around this problem that we have where streaming services are constantly adding and removing shows, and it gets very annoying after a while. You never know when something's gonna come or go. Well, this would put a stop to that if you have the physical media yourself. And in fact, you can share your media folders across other users as well. So you can give somebody access to your server. Your PC would need to be turned on for them to access it, but they can do it. Now, you do run into some legal issues there, so be careful that you don't cross any lines. But if you have photos or home videos or whatever, stuff that you want to share from one person to another, Plex is a good way to do that. Now, moving on through the interface, you'll see right under movies it says music, and then there's photos. This is essentially the same thing. These are your music, your photos, and it's pulling them from your server. So yeah, pretty great. You can put your own stuff so that you can watch it essentially wherever you want, right? But that's not all. Plex does more than that. They've got live TV, like I said, kind of like Pluto TV, where they've got all these channels that you can scroll through. In fact, I counted 162 channels on Plex. Not bad. Now, I'm not saying that these are all channels that you're gonna wanna watch. Obviously, that was true with cable and satellite as well, but there is plenty of stuff on there. In fact, I really liked this live TV guide because as I was counting the channels, yes, I counted every single channel, as I was counting them, I went past several things that almost had me stop in my tracks and click on it and watch because I was interested in it. And hey, that's a great sign. They do have stuff on here that's worth watching. And then we move back over to our navigation bar. Right under live TV, you'll see movies and shows on Plex. And that is essentially the Tubi version that I was talking about. Okay, so there's a million of these, Tubi, Crackle, whatever. Anyway, point being, this is a little bit like scrolling through a commercial-supported Netflix. Tons of titles for you to choose from, and I do like that they have it sorted in a few different ways. So you can go to the browse page and look at stuff that they are recommending for you. You can go to the channels page so you can see by studio or by provider which thing you might be interested in watching. Or you can go and browse by genre and find something that you might be interested in watching. As we keep moving down the list here, we go to web shows. That's exactly what it sounds like. This is stuff that they're pulling from online. A lot of YouTube style content on this web shows queue here. So you can add this to your own personal queue and get a list of web shows if you want to. And then when we go back over, you'll see there's a spot for podcasts. That's pretty self-explanatory. You can search a ton of podcasts. I looked for a bunch, found a couple of my own, which is great. But I also found that there were some shows that did not show up in the Plex library here. So you may or may not be able to find the podcasts that you prefer, but they do seem to have a lot of the bigger stuff on there. Now, the music tab is a little bit frustrating for somebody like me, simply because I don't use Tidal. I use Spotify. And so because of that, I wasn't interested in signing up for Tidal. I have no intention of doing so. So the music tab wasn't very effective for me. But if you are a Tidal user, then you will find it obviously very attractive. So there you go. That's your basic run through of what Plex looks like, how you navigate it, how you put stuff onto it. Now, what do I like about Plex? There's a ton. Honestly, there's a ton to like. One of the things that I really, really like, I said we were going to come back to the homepage. Let's do that now. If we go to the homepage, one of the things I love is that they put your content front and center. Even though they carry some good titles themselves, in their movies and TV or in their own live TV sections, they put your stuff first, which is exactly what you would want, I would assume. So when you go to that homepage, the first thing you're greeted with is the Continue Watching tab. Some services tend to bury that under their own suggestions sometimes, which gets really frustrating. Plex doesn't do that. Again, they put your stuff up there, so continue watching, whether it's stuff from your own server or stuff from their libraries, you can continue watching from there. I also mentioned how many live TV channels there are and how much good content, on-demand content there is. This is not the same as going to Netflix or HBO Max with their sweet $15 a month library, something like that. But for something that you're not paying for, it's pretty dang sweet. And honestly, that's the only thing I could come up with as far as what steers me away from Plex is if you're looking for premium content, it's not here unless you're loading it into your own server. This is not a replacement for Netflix. It's not a replacement for Disney Plus or HBO Max. It's not going to have some of those super compelling titles. But other than that, like I said, there's not really a ton to complain about, especially because it's free. But that brings me to another thing that we should talk about. There is a premium version of Plex. Should you get it? Is it worth it? Well, what you would pay for this is $5 a month or $40 a year or $120 for a lifetime membership for Plex. And what does that get you? Well, it gets you offline downloads on mobile, so you can watch your stuff on the go when you're not connected to Wi-Fi. It gets you data usage statistics. If you have a lot of people using your server, then you can see who is doing the most and who's doing what with it. You get a live TV DVR. So if you have an antenna that you have up in your window, you're getting live TV stations through that, you can actually DVR that on your Plex server. That's pretty sweet, right? That's not a bad deal. And then they have something called webhooks. This is an automation system. This is going to be pretty advanced, but if you sign up for this, you can use webhooks to integrate with your, I don't want to say her name, your Echo device or your Google device or what have you. So you can do some cool automations like when I start playback on Plex, then it'll dim the lights in my room or something. You'd have to have a pretty advanced setup to do that, but if you have it, hey, it's pretty sweet. The last thing that they list here is some extra music improvements, sound leveling and, crossfading, that sort of thing that you can do with music. Again, if you're a Tidal user, that's going to be attractive. If you're not, then maybe not so much. So when it comes to the premium stuff, in my opinion, if you're intrigued by Plex after this video, here's what I would say. I'd say go give it a shot first. If after a few months you find yourself using it a ton, then go for the premium version. Hey, not bad, right? $5 a month for all those features, pretty good. but the free version is already pretty sweet, right? So the final word here is, yeah, I kind of love Plex, and I'm grateful for you guys for going into the comments and letting me know that this was something that I needed to do a deep dive on. I appreciate that. The only word of caution that I would provide here is that it's an app that's approaching power user status, okay? It is actually great if you use none of the, My Library, syncing your own server and all that. They still have some good stuff that makes it recommendable in the live TV and in the on-demand sections. There's still enough there to recommend it. But if you want to really take advantage of Plex using that home server and, getting your own library into Plex, then it does come with a bit of a learning curve. So just be aware of that going in. If you are very technologically savvy, you probably won't have any problems with it. If you are technologically challenged, I'm halfway there, right? It took me a little while to get things going. I still need to go and stitch all the chapters together from that one Blu-ray that I ripped and put in the library, but I'll do that later. Anyway, point being, if you're a little technologically challenged, it might just take you a little while to get it set up. Once you do have it set up, once you get the hang of it, it is awesome. So, fully recommended. I really, really like Plex, and I think you will too. So there you have it. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with my assessment, if there's anything I left out that you think is important for people to know. And yeah, don't forget on your way down there to like and subscribe if you enjoy videos like this. Appreciate you coming by, and I will see you on the next video.